Okay, so it's very late at the night, and very, very, very late. So it's like very quiet, which is the best time to make a video, even though not actually sure what I'm making this video about even. So I'm just gonna make it up as I go along. I don't know why, but so this just came up onto the the internet or the YouTube videos explaining different movies, which I haven't seen any of these movies, not fully, just bits and pieces, and being in the position that I'm in of not understanding fully my environment, much less the actual Earth matrix, naturally not fully understanding the Earth matrix, I am just going to talk to myself because, let's see, got a bit too much light there, I think. Okay. Let's try to adjust that a bit. So based on movies, which is like technology, everything seems to be like, like where you're given information and you're meant to figure it out. But you can't figure it out because it's not what most people see or want to see around them. And if you really think about your reality or your circumstances, you realize that you are often a lot more restricted and more limited than what you would like to be. You don't have like unlimited resources, and at some point, if you're aware enough or lucky enough or even unlucky enough in a way, because the truth won't always set you free. Not if you're in an controlled, enclosed staged and continually set up environment around you. So you will find that you are really a caged animal, but you're not aware of the cage. And when you become aware of it, you will be trapped. Because, to be a caged animal but to not know you're a caged animal is always more acceptable. In other words, you get used to your cage and you accept your limitations because you don't know that you are in a cage. You don't know you're limited. It's only when you realize that everything is being staged around you to keep you, under control. And why is that? Why would I be kept under control? Like, why is this so necessary? And that has to be because, if you think about it, it has to be because, they want to keep this technical controlled reality. But also they want to keep limitation by control in a way because I don't know why. I don't know why. Because it's not really, it makes you think that it can't be a human earth totally. It means that another intelligent life form has assimilated into the human existence and has taken me over, has infiltrated my mind and body and is using my human resources for its benefit somehow. The movies, I think, and all the information that is presented is all out there, as they say, but there's too much of it and too little time for many humans to assimilate that, as opposed to what the others want you to assimilate, or in other words, the higher intelligence that has taken over the human mind in order to control the reality. And many movies and information tells you that these are anti-human species that are here and that want to take life from the human so that they can have life. Now, you know, I had it very clear in my own thinking up till just before I pressed this video on, and I started to watch a movie about, I think it's called Prometheus, which is like, you know, showing different creators. And then I got more confused because I kind of figured that I had it reasonably simple in its idea that it's just about human beings and human creation being changed by infiltration from outsiders, from another intelligent life form that needs human life or thinks it needs human life in order to survive. And but I guess that might be the artificial alien type species. More or less infiltrating my mind with information that distorts my kind of belief. You know, because you're always looking for the real reality, or how the technology works. What are the other beings like? Why are there different types of human beings, or in other words, different species in human form? Even if you only think the difference is as simple as the development of, say, the psychopathic, narcissistic, controlling, anti-life kind of human person. That kind of is only because I always tend to think of all humans as limited, but I didn't particularly think that all humans weren't the same in their basic instincts and kind of their basic needs and wants, even though, of course, you do realise that, you know, that a lot of yourself is not as human, or as what I say more as relating to real life or other humans as much as what you're supposed to. But I think that this is a product of upbringing and conditioning, which is exactly what they say creates the more malignant psychopathy human mindset, where it's all about only survival, only about defeating death, you could say, which is what I just saw in the little movie example. Because essentially the paranoia and the fear of death is what drives most of us. And wanting to create life or create a synthetic human that is impervious to death seems to be prominent in the human mind and the human condition, as they say. And really, it is a condition, maybe, that is not natural. In other words, the fear of death is an unnatural state of being for me, even though it is a state of being for me. So I'm filled with false fear and false preoccupation with it, so that so that I don't know how to accept the the death cycle. And I think that that is also what drives the powers that be, or the powers that be, or the gods of earth, because these particular demigods of earth, or the controllers of earth, I think control the human mind through fear. So my continual state of fear is what keeps them having their mind control over me. And if I didn't have that fear, then there would be less mind control of me. See, so I think that human beings are not meant to have all that fear. They're not meant to be in the continual state and preoccupation with their survival and a fear of death. They're not meant to be preoccupied or thinking about eternal life, or about the extension of earthly life. That's where we have the invention of medicine, science, and even artificial intelligence, which is like a way of saying that if you could put your mind into a new body, an artificial body or a synthetic body, or even maybe a reanimated body. I'm not sure how or what actually takes place. And of course, we have, what we call cloned bodies. But, I think that this all goes beyond what human life is meant to be. But I think that that is also part of, what people call connection to God or a religious belief, or it, because you could have, wherever you are trying to attain immortality, wherever you're trying to assume the position of being God-like, you're 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 trying to do something that is not natural for your existence. It's like you're not accepting or not, I'm not understanding my limited earthly existence. But is that the reality, or is that what I've been programmed with? But either way, it becomes an unnatural, paranoid, delusional even preoccupation during your living life. So I think personally this is based on fear, and it's based on fear of what, it's like while you're living, you can't contemplate not living, but you're preoccupied with that limited time. And that is because I think now that we're in the wrong mindset, we're in the wrong frequency and vibration. I think that when you're in an environment where you weren't coexisting with an alien life species, and where you are not being mind controlled through your environment and through your information, or more, correctly put, through your programming, because really information is just what is being programmed into you. Just like, they believe in programming artificially intelligent cloned bodies and synthetic human bodies with human minds. And that is all the same thing, and I think it goes away from what natural human beings were originally meant to be and think like, where they didn't think about their earthly life. They just lived it in the moment and in a natural human frequency and vibration, or an energy, as they say, because although I don't understand and fully comprehend these things, it's simply put that if human beings are not programmed and conditioned with fear, which we are, like I've lived my entire life based on fear, and also not being able to engage in the higher frequency and vibration and energy. Because if you are in an artificial environment surrounded by either mind-controlled, limited, suppressed human beings like yourself, and don't forget that it depends on the degree. So I'm limited and suppressed, but there could be other humans around me that are even more limited and suppressed. And there also could be some that are less limited and suppressed. But there's also the others, the artificially intelligent beings that are not limited and suppressed humans. They're a different kind altogether, and they are essentially about surviving and controlling, because they don't even have limited suppressed human emotions and feelings. And they want to engage in, a computer reality. And I think the name of the game, because it is a game, because they play humans in a anti-human video game, because it's necessary for their survival, because they are naturally preoccupied with survival only. They're your survival machine beings, as we're told. And so they conditioned me to think very similar to that. Rather than live a human existence, you're living a fear-based survival mentality as a human. You're aware that you're not a fully functioning human, and you're aware that you're not living in the right environment, but also you're aware that you're not living amongst your own kind, usually, but you're also aware that you're not operating and living in the higher frequency and vibration and energy. In other words, you're not living as a human being naturally would have been intended to live. This is all because of mind control and the programs that have been put into my mind. Mind control is simply the same thing as the programs, but it's probably much more complicated than that, because there is vast artificially intelligent technology being used to control the human mind, and my idea of what the reality really is, or what it even really should be. Both, probably. But if I was operating purely in a higher frequency and vibration, as opposed to a survival fear vibration, which is, according to frequency and vibration and energy human levels, which I was told, they're the lowest frequency and vibration and energy. So all my life I've operated in a non-human frequency and vibration and energy. And this is largely because you're surrounded by artificial intelligent androgyne survival machine type beings, or even human beings that are, like yourself, conditioned to not really believe in or experience the higher frequencies and vibration and energy. So you are not operating in true human or true life vibration. You're relating more to non-life, and you're also relating a lot more to the physicality or the physical reality, which is not life. It's real, but it's not living life. So it's like when I watch the magic movies or anything that I don't experience with my senses. That's, an artificial reality. That's artificial intelligence taking over my senses. But of course, in reality, artificially intelligent android beings exist everywhere as well, because the reality now has gradually become a largely non-human type of existence, for those reasons that you have many different human type species all existing at the same time and coexisting in a largely technical, artificially intelligent, human mind controlled reality. And this is all largely done behind the scenes so that you're not aware of the technology. You're aware of it because you see it and you use it, but you're not aware of how advanced it actually is most of the time. And I don't see it as clearly as total mind control as what it actually is. Because if I think about even my own life, my own existence has largely been controlled by technology. My perception and my fears have largely been dictated by what I've seen on or through technology, or even through, information about the earth that I don't really experience, not directly. I do now, because many of the alien android beings have come out into the open, and also the reality that most of humankind has become very controlled by this, and therefore has become very anti-human and anti-life, even amongst its own kind, and is engaging in anti-life, anti-human exchange of energy, or exchange just at a mind level, or even just at a communication level, shall we say. It's all very anti-life and anti-human. It's about controlling the humans and trying to continue on. And this depends on how kind of this so-called malignant narcissism that is really a mind virus from the the original artificial androgyne god that does actually control Earth. And this, but if I just forgetting all these stories and all the religions and all the belief systems in particular gods, each person, if they do believe in, a god outside of themselves, has their own particular god that they will worship or believe is the true creator of, everything, shall we say. That's the general religious kind of belief, isn't it? But in this earth reality, we now see human beings that are always trying to extend and be seen as gods in earth. And I think that is largely part of the mind control to direct real human beings, or those that don't want to be like, say, cyborgs, or at least don't want to combine with the artificial intelligence. That is really the, an advanced artificially intelligent computer system. I mean, who controls the advanced artificial intelligent computer system? Who controls the mind of the androgyne beings that are assimilating with human beings, but also imitating and pretending to be the real human beings that they're assimilating with, or that they're interacting with, and assuming their mind. Because the technology is very advanced, the transhuman movement that they've talked about, which I only became aware of in very recent times, but also became aware of because I was being used as part of that transhuman movement on the internet and on the computer system and even in the reality, because due to the advanced technology, my mind has been connected to their internet beings and to the beings in the reality. So that's like where, you are being influenced and controlled by almost everything. Because if you're not interacting or experiencing a true human interaction, then, you are really experiencing transhumanism. So all I experience is transhuman mind connection and also transhuman mind control and physical control of my reality around me. So, I ask myself what the purpose of that is and why I'm part of it, but haven't consciously chose to be, part of that technology or part of the transhumanism. And also I don't now think that it is viable to try to cheat death or to become a cyborg or an androgyne human, or to put the human mind in a different body. Is that what it means? Because that seems to be the consensus. Because, even I'm aware that, you can replace things. So the whole conditioning is to play with the human body, to replace parts, to all in the aim of continued existence or longevity. And this is all based on the fear of death, of course. But I personally now think that it's all one big deception, that really the human being sphere and also the reality that you're not living in a totally human earth. So therefore, these beings are taking over the human mind and body so that they can continue, so that they have that, what we call, and what that movie even was showing me, that they want to be and play God, or change the natural process, I guess. And, the whole point is to convince me to live in that same state of fear of, your death or your extinction, or even the extinction of the earth. And it's really all, I think, now, I personally think that it's now just all mind control. But it's very effective because they really do cause your death and your extinction, but they also take your living life from you while you are alive. So that creates more fear, so therefore you bring about your own worst fears. But you just don't live either, so you're not living like a human being, you're living in their state of fear, their need to be God, their need to have a continued kind of immortal state of being. You know, whether it be jumping from one clone body to another or one cyborg body to another, putting, transferring, like in the old kind of science fiction, which is probably closer to science reality, where you can put, the human mind into a new body so that you don't perish and you keep going in this earth. So it's kind of changing the natural process, which is exactly the same as transhumanism or artificial intelligence taking over the whole earth. And this is, I think, the case. But it needs to take, for some reason, I also think it needs to take over the human mind to continue this and to do this, because it's probably went beyond artificial intelligence, so it's kind of using the human mind to achieve its aim of so-called immortality, because that's, whilst at the same time the human being's existence becomes more and more less. So my lifespan becomes less and smaller, while their already long lifespan, their aim is immortality, to keep going on and on forever almost, you could say. And, of course, there's probably different other things which I don't understand. So I don't like to talk about evolution or species changing and evolving into more advanced species so that they can, become more technically advanced and therefore, keep going on and on. But that's probably what we all hear about and what you think is a normal human existence. I personally have went away from that in the last couple of years and have actually thought that, the human intelligence doesn't need to evolve and doesn't need to grow. It doesn't need to expand. It doesn't need anything else. And my own belief is that things are meant to stay limited and that they're meant to not change or evolve. That's just my own view now. But am I still going here? I think so. I wasn't sure. Because, I don't think that, I don't think that most people, even those that have a belief in gods or one God, even though I think that we'd all have to say that if you look at even humanity, there are different belief systems. But really it's just about putting a name on a particular so-called deity. And usually, if you think about it, it would be normal for me to worship the God of my creation, assuming that I didn't just evolve naturally or randomly. Therefore I would assume that that particular creator should be my God. This is how most religious systems seem to work, and that makes sense. But that may also be part of deception, in the sense that I would say, even though I'm not, a proponent of the world religions, even though there is, I've always said, much truth in them, and they're all slightly different, but I think that the deception is still about the unacceptance of the reality that everything is still based on fear of not being connected to God, but also not accepting your human existence and your human your human death, okay? Not accepting that. But, as in recent times I've been told through psychological information on the internet spider's web and the what I would call the the psychopathy of the psychology, that tells me that psychopathy, which is, the same, I'm told, as the anti-human kind of personality disordered individual humans. And, so that, I don't want to sound like as though I know it all on these things, because I actually don't. But a lot of these conditions are very anti-human, we're told that, and yet they are still human beings. But that's because they've lent towards, I think, this fear of death, and therefore been conditioned, and literally conditioned through their environment. And we condition one another too, because I've been conditioned to be anti-human and anti-life, and then I condition others to be anti-human and anti-life. So it's a vicious catch-22 cycle that just goes on, and many people have called this what you call generational curse, and that's part of the programming of the controllers and the gods of earth, because they want the generational fear curses to continue on. They don't want human beings to relate only to other real humans and live in their natural high vibrational, high frequency, high energy human state. In other words, they don't want you to have your natural needs met. Human beings have needs for food, clothing and shelter, but human beings are also usually meant to be born with a natural need for human life connection, or some people call this the mystical romantic love vibration, but actually it's not. It's just about connecting only with something natural and human rather than with artificial intelligence, or with the artificial intelligent androgyne ones that actually do control Earth. And that's just putting it at a physical level. And I'm talking through my hat and I'm speaking, in a way, it's like talking about spirituality and about religions and about God, but really it's actually the opposite of that too, because really any worship or need to connect with God is really only your fear of death, because if you don't have that fear, you won't be looking for these gods. You won't be looking to the gods. You won't be looking to any god. I'm not saying that you aren't part of a creator God, so don't misinterpret that. But I think that while you're living and on earth, you are very separate from gods and, creation or anything like that. You're not meant to be part of it. You're meant to just be connecting with Earth and your own kind, or with other real life humans. And you're meant to break that cycle, which I have not been able to do. So I'm destined to the transhumanism that's took place on me, because I didn't connect with a real human in my life, and I didn't operate in the high frequency, high vibrational, high energy human real life existence. I unintentionally connected to the artificial intelligence, human mind control and mind limiting, I think, Matrix Earth. And even if I'm not a limited, suppressed human like I think that we are, I still think that even if artificial intelligence is superior, is more advanced, is better, and has the ability to surpass humanity at all levels, I still think that we're not meant to be part of that. We're meant to be just human. It's like different species, different animals. Some are more intelligent, some have more abilities. They're all meant to remain separate and just live that existence. They're not meant to compare with the other species. A bird isn't meant to compare with a snake. A dog isn't meant to be compared to a cat. And normal species don't do this. But human beings do this. And that's part of my downfall over my life and in my existence. And it, also my misconception about the reality, about the science, you could almost say, of what it is for my body to be human. So in other words, if I believe in the science that I think about my body, then my body becomes my enemy, and I deteriorate and become weak, and I perish sooner. And usually what I believe about my body is what I'm told, what I've been conditioned or programmed to believe. And that's because I'm in a programmed human mind control matrix Earth. Now, whether you want to think that is the artificially intelligent beings that control Earth, the powers that be that control Earth, that are artificial in nature, but they pretend to be real, normal humans. But they use also that computer technology to control the human mind. But I don't know, how they do this in a real way, because I, over a certain time span, or time confusion or time deception, I think I've lost sight of the reality that you conditioned to believe and fear your body and your mind, and you think that it's all real what you think, when it's not. In other words, everything I have been told and have been programmed with is probably not true, but it's so ingrained in me, and I'm so full of fear that I can't dismiss it. I can't unread or unhear what they've programmed into me. And that's why they do that too, because they want you to see things that you're not meant to see. They want you to hear things that you're not meant to know. And now, of course, it's the other way around, where ignorance is bliss, but we need to know that you're surrounded by artificial intelligence because you're trapped and controlled by it. So it's very much a very mind game. And how you find yourself out of this mind game, and how you can get back to what we call getting back to the garden, and that's just the mind program of showing you the truth, or at least almost showing you how you've been slowly taken away from your natural state of being, which is why, human beings are not very happy. That's why you have to force yourself to even think that you're remotely happy as a human being, because your human needs have not been met in this life. Some of your physical human needs are not even met. And that will just depend on how much they can control your emotions and feelings through the mind control programming, and through the stage set up reality that they create around you, which is also part of suppressive mind control, or suppressive human emotion and feeling control, so that they keep you always feeling not human, not feeling real, and not being happy under any circumstances. Because a technical reality, I think, has to be controlled through keeping everything very, very cold and hard and at the same mindset as the artificial intelligence. Because if you didn't care about those things, then, they're not going to be able to control you quite as much at a mind level by those fears and by those things, are they? You have to be in that mindset, and you also have to be working against your natural instinct, which means that naturally human beings should only be attracted to other human beings. Human beings shouldn't naturally be attracted to artificial intelligence, but in reality we're coerced into interactions and accepting that reality. And also, because they are imitating being a real human whilst keeping the human being under total mind control, that simply means that I'm acting or interacting and immersed in artificial intelligent android beings' reality. And I can't tell the difference between something that is not human and something that is. An imitation of life human being often will appear to be more human to me and more, more of what I think a human being is, depending on what I'm looking for at, a given time. Basically, they will pretend to be what I think a human being is. And I won't be able to recognise the real from the not real, or at least the real from that which is, what you'd call, say, a cyborg. Because you won't, just as I can't tell the difference between the psychopathy or a human being that has been totally taken over by the psychopathy of, say, a psychopath or the malignant narcissistic types of beings. Because everyone is largely acting. And the better actor you are, the more convincing you are to convince everyone and anyone that you are a real human being. Whereas in reality, most real human beings even are so mind-controlled and so programmed, like myself, and are literally in touch with and connected to the computer human mind control virus that is the earth. So I'm a transhuman living in an artificial reality, a total setup, staged human mind control reality where they're using the human mind, using my mind, to keep control of the human mind and the human reality, even though it's largely an artificial reality. Because most humans are transhuman like myself, and the rest are total artificial intelligent or completely mind controlled, programmed, psychopathic types of humans that are steeped in malignant narcissism, which means they're like survival paranoid beings, and operating through the mind control of what you'd call generational psychopathy. Like I say, it all just depends on the degrees of how much you have gone away from what you would have originally not only been, but what you would have originally wanted and needed as a human being. And that's just simply because your needs have not been met. And, if you don't get fed the right food, you don't develop. If you don't get fed the right mind food, your mind doesn't develop. And if you don't get fed the right, if you don't get fed, if your human emotional needs are not met when you are young, you will become cold and hard, and the equivalent of the artificially intelligent android beings that largely make up most of, or at least most of, the areas where humans habitat. Everything finds its environment for survival, But a lot of that is because the frequency and vibration which makes up the Earth matrix, because they tell us that everything is frequency and vibration and energy at a very microscopic type of level. So the human being I'm out of touch with my natural frequency and vibration, and I've been driven away or coerced away from my natural state of being a real life human being, and instead become more cold and hard and focused on fear of, the body and, the body dying and, the body dying and the mind being, taken, or your life, your mind being extinguished type of thing. All these things are a fear that you have, and that you can't escape that fear because you're not living in life in the moment. You're living in always a state of fear about the future. And that's the program, that's the Earth program too, as you know, because, we have the fear of Earth dying and fear of losing your natural habitat. That's all part of the fear program too, I would imagine. That doesn't mean that there isn't physical things that are negative to human existence, but most of that is part of a program, and it's always about human beings thinking that they control the earth, when in reality, we never have. I don't control my own mind. It's largely the programs that are put into me, and I certainly don't control, my earth, shall we say. And it's not my earth, it's their earth. And even if you don't want to talk about gods or powers that be or higher humans that have more control and more resources, it's still the same thing. So I might say to myself, well, I don't control the earth, but I can still try to make, as they say, your little corner of the sky, or your little area where you actually try to live. You can have some input into that, and therefore you're still God in your own existence, or you still have power in your own life. This is also, I think, completely not true. I have no or very little power in my own life, because most of it is a fear program. So even while I'm talking this talk and making this video, I'm filled with fear. I was filled with fear before I turned the record knob on. Even though I know that fear is the key to my demise and is your enemy, because it's a fear-based reality. There's lots of things you can't change in Earth, but even if you base your whole existence on the fear of everything being taken over, everything being destroyed, there's a reality to that. But that's only because everything has gone so far into the red, as they say. See, so-called progress is actually human limitation in many ways, I think. Because although it could be progress, it's usually not progress that you have control over. Most of the progress that's been made appears to be useful and a benefit to me, but it's really still part of this Earth matrix control system. And this is operated by alien android types of humans, or psychopathic, malignant, narcissistically controlling, paranoid beings that are preoccupied with immortality and also being God of humans. And that's what it is. And I don't think I shall continue here, because I was hoping to put some little visual pictures from the screen on, but basically I didn't know what I was talking about when I started. I just saw the image there that I started with on the screen, which I can't even show properly because, oh, yes, I look like more artificial than real, and I feel more artificial than real. I haven't lived a human existence. I've lived in fear. I'm not even comfortable to touch another human being, and most of the time I wouldn't actually be touching the mind or the physical body of a real human being, because a lot of the Earth is artificial intelligence, and a lot is, are the android-androgyne beings. Either way, android-androgyne beings, I think, are definitely vessels that have been completely taken over and invaded with the psychopathy of the mind virus of the God or the powers that be that control Earth. And I tried to put that in a very eloquent, fancy manner. And,